All right, Buffs fans, what is going on? Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Want to give a warm welcome, of course, to probably not a lot of new viewers that we're going to be getting on the channel soon, coming over here from different Big 12 programs. I was just maybe like 20 minutes ago finishing up my time on Jason Watkins' show of Hall of Fame Sports Media. He covers OU and Big 12 conference news, so please go check out his channel and on his Twitter. You can find it on mine. But today, man, this is a great way to finish out the week. I mean, who would have expected this? We got Subway that is saying that they're offering people free Subway for the rest of their life if they would just change their first name to Subway. We have a military officer testifying under oath with Congress that aliens exist. But you know what people care about? It's not those things. People care about the Colorado Buffaloes. People care about conference realignment with whatever Coach Prime in Colorado is doing. And so it is so fitting that I have the opportunity to interview a content creator that I look up to so much, somebody that's been very inspiring, someone who is a fantastic communicator, and that is our fellow YouTuber, Prime Sports Media. So I'm going to bring him on right now, and let's give him a warm welcome. How's it going? Thank you again,
everybody. Thank you
for coming on the show.
Hey, first of all, let me just say I appreciate you. I appreciate your channel. I've actually enjoyed your interview that you did with my man, Life in Football. I got to tell you, you did a great job there. It was great, great conversation. I'm very excited about what's happening with Coach Prime in Colorado. The whole atmosphere down there is dynamic. And when I began creating my channel, you were one of the channels that I noticed, and I just loved your raw commentary. And as I told you before we went live, you are living in that area, and you have some advantages that many of us don't have. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. And yeah, this has been perfect to just connect with people all throughout the country, and it really means a lot. I love your storytelling style, your long format video. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Prime Sports Media, you need to do it, because he's one of the best content producers with anything with Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. But I would love to start off just by hearing a little bit more about your story, with what inspired you to specifically get this channel going.
Well, as we were saying earlier before we went live, I've been on YouTube for quite some time. I have a lot of channels where I do social commentary, political, cultural commentary, and I've always wanted to do a sports channel. And as I was telling you before, I've been following Coach Prime ever since Prime Academy. I'm a big 49ers fan. I lived in San Francisco, the Bay Area, for many years. And I enjoyed the year that he actually joined the 49ers from Dallas and he joined the 49ers when he left Atlanta. Let me be correct there. And he brought us a Super Bowl. So I've always been a big fan of him ever since his Florida State days. And then watching him on his reality shows and seeing what he was doing at Prime Academy caught my attention. So I always wanted to do a sports channel. And when everything was really heating up when he was at Jackson State, what he brought to Jackson State was very exciting, and it just kind of caught on for me. And I said, let me do a sports channel finally, and no other better chance than to do one with Coach Prime being the main subject along with his son. So I'm really happy to be a part of what's happening right now from a social media perspective.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get into the Prime effect. Just a little bit. Maybe we start with some of the most recent news, which happened yesterday regarding Charles Lester's announcement. We can talk about how, Colorado has been closely tied to Charles Lester, but he ultimately commits yesterday to Florida State. Maybe we can kind of start from a bird's eye view with your approach. How has your thoughts and feelings been with the recruiting so far? And then let's touch on the Charles Lester situation yesterday.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I think what's happening is that the Prime effect is in effect, because I think that Coach Prime is able to do something that I think many coaches are not able to do. First of all, let's keep this in mind. He's very relatable. I think he understands this generation, whether we call it millennial or Z generation. I think he's very relatable in that way. He has a certain swagger that you don't see from any other coaches in terms of the way he talks, the way he interacts with them. And this is important that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. And there's a content creator that I really look up to, called Daily Buffs. He brought up a point to me. I know him personally, that Coach Prime is running this program almost like an NFL team in his approach and strategy, if you really look at it from the outside. And then he becomes like the father away from home that either they never had, or a father away from the real father. So in the way he talks to them, so he knows just when to turn it on and be playful with his players. You know, you see him joking in some of the clips, but then he knows when to lay it on the line and say, this is what we're about. You're not going to just get a number. You're going to have to earn it. I think that combination speaks to this generation. Okay. He allows them to be who they are. That's very important, not trying to change them. And I think that is benefiting him as it relates to the recruitment, because these kids are looking. Now, you're going to see, I have to say this, you're going to see other coaches and teams that are going to try to mimic what he's doing, because the social media is a big key here, because he knows that the young people utilize social media. That is it for them. And so I haven't seen any coach utilize it like he has. That makes them more relatable, which is going to benefit them long term. So I'm very happy with the recruitment, what's happening. And we got a lot of naysayers out there, and we're going to get into that too. But let me stop it right there. I mean, I can run like a waterfall here.
No, man, I completely agree. We're seeing somebody that's coming in that's disrupting the whole model of how things have been. And not to say that we haven't had other football coaches that act or that can serve as a father figure to players,
yes.
obviously. But
Obviously, yes.
The way in which he's going about it, you can't replicate it. And that's why we're starting to see even coaches that have no relationship with the University of Colorado in terms of scheduling. It seems like they're the ones that are most comfortable to take shots at him because they actually don't have to face the music. They don't have to put their squad up against primes here at any point in time. What have your thoughts kind of been on that whole?
Well,
situation?
I think I believe what's happening is that let's just be honest. Prime took over a team, you know better than most, that it was a 1-11 team. I did a video about this. Remember the game when they finally won? I think it was against Cal Berkeley, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
When they finally won a game. One of the things that I illustrated in my video is that look at how the people ran out to the field and they were pumped up because they won their first game. And I said, imagine if they get back to winning, what the support's going to be like. So that means that the fan base in Colorado, they're in Boulder, Colorado, are hungry for a winner. I think the coaches are looking at Coach Prime with a third, like a double eye, like, wait a minute, this man just took over a 1-11 team and he's been able to change it around, because they have to look at themselves and say, what are they not doing? I don't like the name drop here, but let's talk about Venable. Venable, from what I understand, took over a Oklahoma team that was actually had a great winning record. And then when he took it over, they went 6-7. And then you're setting up here at your media day or in some radio station locally, saying, I'm not going to do what Prime did by kicking kids out, or I'm going to give them a chance. Wait a minute, sir. You just took over a team that was in better shape than Colorado. Mm-hmm. And you're now making pop shots subliminally and I think what's happening is that they are spellbind, baffled by how this man was able to come in and make some changes. And then I've said this 1,000 times in my videos. If they're upset about how he used the transfer portal, why don't you pick up the phone and call the NCAA and make some complaints because it's a system that he could only utilize unless it was put in place for him to utilize. Now we know, we know that there's young people here. You don't want to just treat young people and throw them out the door, but he already admitted to us, and many people have said that there was a lot of things going on where these players were not focused and they were being derelict. And obviously you've got to move those players out, because if he goes out there and loses, then everybody's going to say, well, what did he do? Why is he playing with this roster still? So I think that people are scared at what he did in 1 year so far, as far as the roster, because they're really afraid of what it could become in the future. I'll stop right there.
Absolutely. We are just at the base level of what is being built. And I think some of the coaches that have taken shots, they understand, even if they don't understand it on a conscious level, maybe it's even subconscious, they understand the threat that Coach Prime is right now and is going to become. I mean, when you look at this level of recruiting, when you look at the eyeballs that are on the YouTube channels, on the interviews, the spring game, all of that, the fact, like, we can touch on this later, there is no way in hell that CU is first on Brett Yormark's list of Pac-12 schools to join the Big 12 if Colorado doesn't hire Coach Prime, if he's not here. So we're building something here. He is building something here that isn't replicable, and people are threatened by that. But I wanted to touch on this with you. We talked a little bit about this before we hopped on. What was your expectation of Charles Lester's recruitment so far? How are you feeling going into the week, going into Friday? And how are you feeling right now in terms of Coach Prime's relationship with Charles Lester, CU's chances of getting him to flip, if any? Would love to hear your opinions on that.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed because I made a video, a really good video that I wanted to drop today. And I wasn't able to drop that video because of the news that we got when they said that he was going to commit to Florida State. Look, I get it. We're dealing with teenagers, young kids that are very, they can be influenced in so many different ways. From what I did, I observed from afar. And one of the things you always have to observe is family. And when he made his first few visits to Florida State, he had a lot of family around him, right? And it seemed like Florida was a place that he always wanted to be, Florida State to be specific, since he was very young. And remember, I mentioned to you when we were in the green room area before we went live, that I had clipped a statement that he wrote about how he, when he went to Riverview High School, he was saying how he wanted to play at the pro level. And then he was talking about his mother, who unfortunately passed away from some illness, and that he was dedicating what he was doing to his mother. I had someone send me a message on my video today and said that he made a promise, allegedly, because we don't know if this is factual, but allegedly that he had made a promise to his mother that he would go to Florida State when she was passing, as she was starting to pass. And if he has an emotional attachment to not only the state that he grew up in, knowing that his family can see him play there versus traveling all the way to Colorado, I can understand why he made the decision. But this is the one that I wanted to bring out to everybody. If you comb through his social media or social media clips that were old clips, he made a statement, Dave, if I can call you Dave, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Where he said, I know that Coach Prime is qualified to get me to the NFL. He is qualified because he was a top defensive back, right? So he was aware that Coach Prime had the pedigree to teach him what it would take to get to the next level of football play, NFL. So a lot of people, I think, kind of jumped on that and kind of felt like, yeah, he's going to come to Colorado because of the fact that he has this love for Coach Prime. But see, a love for your family and where you grew up at, and if this is true that he did this for his mother as well, that's going to be more stronger. But to your other point, could he flip? Yes, he could. Because let's say he gets to Florida State and begins to say, man, this ain't what I thought it was going to be. They were all showering me with love because they were trying to get me to play here. But now that I'm here, I ain't liking what's going on here. And so he could actually do a reverse and transfer to Colorado if he doesn't like what's going on. And guess what? There's a high chance that if this young man gets sour on Florida State, that Colorado would be his first choice, because if it was not for Florida State being in the picture, he could very well be donning the black and gold right now.
Wow. I I love that theory, that he has the ability to decide if he doesn't like it there. Hey, Colorado will always welcome you with open arms. I think that goes into something that I've been thinking about in terms of the high school recruiting class. If we do compare Colorado and FSU right now, FSU has twice the amount of commitments for the class of 24. But I think that you're just going to continue to see this staff really prioritize getting talent in the transfer portal. And again, once we have some wins, I mean, if we're able to get to a bowl game, to get our first bowl game win for the first time in 20 years or so, that's an A+ year coming from a Colorado fan for what Coach Prime could do in his first year.
Right.
You're going to see more and more guys that are at other institutions that have that free transfer come here.
Well, let me just say this. This is where, when I was listening to Shannon Sharp before he left, an Undisputed show with Bayless and that whole drama that they had over there, I agree with 2 points. I agree with one point of what he said and disagree with another point. Another point, I think that they can win right now in the Pac-12. But Shannon made a good point that I agree with. Rick James, the AD, and everyone at Colorado, they're going to have to give Prime some time to develop this roster. What do I mean by that? They're going to have to give him 3, 4, 5 years, because once he gets into the 5th year, that 3rd year, 6th year, you're going to see a whole different ball game. What do I mean by that? Florida State is getting all these young players because Florida State has a tradition of winning. They have built a tradition there. Coach Prime is trying to rebuild the tradition that Colorado once had back in the 90s. So he has to bring that tradition back and also make it better. If they give him the time that he needs, you're going to see him be able to pull more recruits over, because they're going to say, wow, they're winning. They're actually winning football games, not just talking. Now, and maybe I'm skipping along too far here, Dave, but the Big 12, we're going to get into that, but I don't want to go too deep right now. I'm just going to say going to the Big 12 is surely going to help recruitment more so. I'll stop right there.
Oh, yeah. I think, let's dive into that here in just a minute. But I think you're right about the 3, 4, 5 years that this staff's going to need. I was saying it yesterday. It's one thing to be getting these top end 5-star guys and to be in the conversations, but you can't just build a football team on 4 or 5-star guys, especially with where this program's at right now. You really have to develop those guys that aren't coming in with a ton of hype and cachet. And we do have a lot of transfers that fit that mold, that I think have a lot of potential to really be successful here at the next level. And we do have some high school guys that are coming in here, even as 3-stars. A few guys that I really like down the line, such as Carter Stout-Myers, a cornerback that I'm a really big fan of. I think we got some interesting 3-star wide receivers, such as Asad Wasim, that I think could really become something. But I think you hit it right on the head right there, the nail on the head, that this staff is still going to need time to build up to, I think, what we're all hoping is for a dynasty to develop eventually. Now, before we do hit on the Big 12, want to make sure that I hit on this Charles Lester stuff too. I got to say, it is quite frustrating that I feel like I've already seen this when we have a guy that is considering this university, that's considering Coach Prime, that is made in that same mold that Deion
Yes.
Sanders was as a player. When he's not committing, we automatically see fans flipping, and it's all of a sudden the character assassination. This kid must be doing all of this because he's full of himself. He wants clout. He's using CU. He's using Coach Prime. And I gotta say, man, I'm so sick of hearing that sort of narrative. And I think it is hypocritical. If you are a fan of this program now, if you are a fan of Prime, it is so hypocritical of you to call somebody a narcissist for making a show out of something, in my opinion, they've earned this day. They've earned this commitment. They have earned the buzz around them. It is hypocritical for you to be automatically crapping on a player for not choosing the school when we have a coach that has built his career and fortune off of creating a Showtime effect around himself. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we had said that behind the scenes that there were people accusing him of being narcissistic and maybe possibly using Coach Prime going back to Colorado to create a sort of drama or a certain mysteriousness around him. Look, once again, we're dealing with 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids. I studied psychology when I was in college. We know that the brain doesn't really fully develop until after 25 years of age. So you're going to make a lot of immature decisions. But look, let them have fun. This is their day. These kids have the right. We don't really have a right to these young men. They have a right to make their own decision. And that's where he wants to play. And like I told you, there's a backstory to why he made this decision. I don't think he's hating on Colorado. But then today, when I did my video, I want everybody to keep this in mind. Even though we didn't get Charles Lester III, which would have been great, because I said in my video, which will never be released now, that him and Carmody McClain, I thought that those two guys being together would be something that you better watch out for in the future as being a double dynamic duo in a secondary, right? Because you really want to have that type of, and I said that's what they could be, but they don't have that. But yes, they do have a dynamic duo, which is Travis Hunter, who's an all-around athlete, can play defense and can play wide receiver. He can play that press corner position. I think Kamani McClain's going to be a press corner. I think they still have the pieces on this team to be great. I featured my video surrendered around Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. Let's not forget that, we don't have Charles Lester, but what about all the other great players we already have on this roster? We can't sleep on them. We know what they're doing. They're showing us on video. So, folks, this is just year one of Coach Prime's program. Imagine what can possibly happen in 2024, 2025, and he still has recruits coming in. Look, I reviewed the young man that you reviewed on your channel, which is that Brandon Miller. I looked at his video. I'm making a bold prediction now, because sometimes your stars, folks, who get to the NFL and become stars, sometimes they're not 5-star recruits. Sometimes they're 3 stars. Sometimes they're 4 stars, but they're diamonds in the rough. I think that kid is a diamond in the rough. When I looked at his video, his ability to play in space, speed. But one of the things I noticed is that he's a thumper. He's a hitter. Let's say he gets to Colorado and they say maybe he's not quick enough to play at the college level, free safety. Maybe he's quick enough to be converted to a linebacker, because I saw a lot of thumping and hitting in his skills. Yeah. So I get very excited about you gotta excuse my enthusiasm here, but let me stop there.
Man, yeah, now you're getting me pumped up about like this.
And he can play wide receiver. Yeah, so he's another dual threat, and Coach Prime says he likes dual threat athletes. I'll stop there.
Yeah. and I think too, it's like, man, we're not going to win every recruiting battle, especially right now. But it's it is still nothing short of remarkable what we have been able to accomplish right now on this team right now, without even having any results to go off of for this current team. I do think that there's a lot of and we spent time talking about it. Like Coach Prime is a Division I coach. There are like all these arguments about how he can't win at the Division I level. He's already done it. If you didn't know anything about football, he wouldn't have built the culture and the team that he did at Jackson State at JSU. What though? What in terms of Coach Prime with what we've had happen in the Celebration Bowl games, do you think there's any like cause for concern about winning when it matters most, or any of these bowl games that I'm assuming that we're going to be in? Like, what are your thoughts on him as a head coach, and where does he? Are there any areas that you feel like he has to grow in?
Yeah, I think most people would say making the adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to keep this in mind. Coach Prime is actually growing as a coach. I think he's learned a lot from his experience at Jackson State, the positives and the negatives. So Coach Prime is definitely learning. But this is the thing. As much as we hear Coach Prime, saying the things that he says, people will see him as, oh, he's very boastful, very confident coach.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think that people have really fell asleep on, all you have to do is look at his coaching staff that he assembled. It tells me, looking from the outside, that Coach Prime realizes that he doesn't know everything. So what did he do? He went out and get very experienced coaches, people that he's been comfortable with, people that he's known. You've got NFL coaches on this team now. So that means that Coach Prime realizes that he needs to continue developing his coaching ability, because I think the biggest adjustment from coaching in the HBCU for Coach Prime and now in the Power 5 is that he's going to have to understand adjustment, meaning when things are not going right in the game, how do you make the right adjustments? And that's where he has to grow, in my opinion, my humble opinion. He's going to have to grow as a coach. His motivational skills are off the chart, but now the X's and the O's in the adjustments have to be made, have to increase. They're going to have to, because I'm telling you right now, I know for a fact these other coaches are biting at the bit to try to make Coach Prime look bad. They're not going to come out in a minute, but they're going to try to come out and make him look like a rookie. Like amongst the coaches, he ain't nothing but a rookie amongst us. Believe that. There's competition with the coaches too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to highlight what you just said there, that Coach Prime, he is self-aware of where he needs to grow. It's so easy to just mischaracterize him because he's outspoken, or he can create a show, or he's a Hall of Fame football player. Again, I've talked about this on my show a lot of the time. We're being ignorant if we're not understanding that some of this criticism comes out of a racial bias against people like Coach Prime, trying to make his way up into college football greatness. And it shows that he's so self-aware, I feel like, when it comes to where he's trying to get to, because of the fact that he wasn't worried about surrounding himself with other head coaches. As a local Broncos fan, we saw this happen last year with Nathaniel Hackett. You saw that what happens when you have a guy that's coming in here as a head coach, one that isn't nearly connected throughout the NFL and college ranks as you'd want, and then two, most of the guys that he hired, whether that was position or coordinator positions, that was the first time, or that was the highest elevation in terms of title that this staff has been in. And you saw the dysfunction, the chaos, the infighting within the team that was caused because there just weren't grown, experienced coaches and men in the room, and it was a disaster. It about killed my my love for the Broncos after last year. But we see a flip side of that with Coach Prime, where his network is so deep, he's so connected, and he's not insecure in who he is, and so because of that, he's able to hire people that are more than qualified for these positions. With Sean Lewis, with Bill O'Boyle, with a handful of the defensive coaches, these guys have been head coaches before, and I think that's all going to go to benefit Coach Prime in becoming a better head coach himself.
Right. And keep this in mind too. I'm I don't know this for a fact, but I think I can make an educated guess that for all we know, God knows who Coach Prime could have consulting him behind the scenes. With this man having a lot of connections to the NFL, God knows how many coaches or a coach in the NFL that he is very close with or players. They could be doing some behind the scenes consulting that we don't even know about, that they don't put on camera.
Yes.
See, this would people got to realize this. Yes, his son, Junior, is putting stuff on camera, and everyone, you got the game day there. You got all these people that's putting stuff on camera. But this is what we need to be also aware of. There's a lot of things that's not on camera that we don't know about. So God knows how many coaches that he talks to, old school coaches that are consulting him behind the scenes. Yes. People, we got to think about that. There's things that we don't know behind the scenes. It's just like when people were putting out this rumor about, well, where is Kamani? He was there, but not every young man wants to be on camera all the time. And I said this on my own videos. There's tons of people on that football team that we never see on camera because maybe they don't want to be on camera. But I'll stop right there.
Yeah, you can only show so many people, and you got a football team when you're talking about walk-ons too, like over 100 guys, and you just can't have everybody on TV or on YouTube all the time, and
right.
So I think some people expect Cormani to kind of be like Travis, because they're both talented cornerbacks. They've played both ways, but their temperament is different. I would say Cormani's a little bit more similar to Shador, as in, like Travis is more similar to Shiloh in some ways, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But so all I care about is, look, at the end of the day, what we do know about Kamani is that he might be quiet, camera shy, but we know when he's actually on the football field competing, when you look at his tape, he's a monster. Okay? And that's all we need. That's all we need to be concerned about, that he is ready for game day. And I think he will be. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes because, I'm a big NBA fan as well. A lot of the big time NBA players, they have these larger than life personalities, but guys like Cormani, Shador, they kind of remind me of one of my favorite NBA players is Derrick Rose. He was very soft-spoken, in front of the camera. Didn't do a lot of media stuff, but was an absolute dog on the court. Was about as confident as anybody else at the top of their game. What was Derrick Rose during his time in Chicago. And I think just because they're not putting out a ton of content, or they might just be a little bit more soft-spoken in front of the media, doesn't mean that they're not well-liked by their teammates. It doesn't mean that they're not a leader, and it doesn't mean that they're not competitive and have that dog in them.
Facts.
So the other thing that you mentioned was just how there are things going on behind the scenes that we just don't know of. And obviously there's been a big elephant in the room this past year, going back to this past summer, with UCLA and USC leaving the Pac-12 conference to go to the Big Ten. We've been wondering here for the last year, what is Colorado's future? Now, I will say, if you followed my channel for a while, anybody who's watching, you've kind of seen my opinion change and grow over time. But this time last year, I thought that Colorado was probably headed towards the Mountain West Conference. During our time in the Pac-12, our university was more so in a spot where we're trying to rebuild, kind of re-kickstart our football program. And really our move to the Pac-12 just made that reboot even harder. And so that's how we got to 1-11. But we're wondering, okay, is there really going to be a commitment to football? There was a rumor earlier on in the fall, around the time Carl Durrell was fired, that Rick George had interviewed for the athletic director position at the University of Auburn. He has denied,
Mm,
of course, you have to while you're employed
yeah.
at school, I
Yeah. It
think.
doesn't look good.
But that, there was a lot of pressure, I think, put on from the fans, from the alumni. I think Rick George himself, if the institution was going to make a commitment back to football and athletics, and you see that, thankfully, we've been able to do that. We've been wondering where we're going to be playing football for quite a while, but as time has gone on, seeing how Coach Prime has recruited Florida and Texas, seeing the views, not only with the spring game, but the YouTube views, the Pac-12 Media Day views, when Charles Kelly is getting 9 times the amount of views that Caleb Williams is getting, that just speaks to the draw, the rise
Wow.
stock that this brand is right now. And I am so thrilled to see that we're going back to the Big 12 to pair with a commissioner like Brett Yormark, who has worked with Jay-Z. He's worked with the NBA. He's close with Adam Silver. He's not afraid to do things differently and think outside the box. What are your first thoughts on Colorado going back to the Big 12?
Well, you know the history probably better than me. They were there before when it was the Big 8, right?
Yes.
And it was made up of, I think, Nebraska, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the teams. And then we had what? Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, right?
Kansas.
Yes, that's right. Kansas.
I think Kansas was in there.
Was it Texas?
No, I think there was. I always get confused because they were.
Yeah, I get confused because you got Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and remember, we forget. I think I heard someone talk about this. TCU wasn't originally in the Big 12, right? Didn't they come over from Mountain West?
Yeah,
Or one of those. They came from a smaller conference, and look at what they were able to do after getting adapting to the Big 12 over a couple of years, and then down there. Look at where they were.
Yeah. Baylor too. They don't have,
and Baylor. That's right, Baylor.
Yeah, they've been able to do it too.
So what I feel about it is, we know that I'm in the West Coast, so I hate the fact that the Pac-12 is falling apart because it's supposed to represent the part of the country that I live in. So it's kind of sad for me to see our football conference fall apart here. That's based in California, where I'm at, but. At the end of the day, it is about money, and they are getting better TV. I think Colorado is going to get 39 million to 42 million media rights and what have you. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the specific. So they're going to get some good. They're going to get some good money, which they need to keep the program going and running. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great move because now you're in a more relevant conference. Now we're in a more relevant conference. The Pac-12 is not relevant right now, and there's more teams that are probably going to jump ship over there. I'm wondering what Oregon's going to do, right? Because a lot of these teams are leaving, traditional teams. So I think this is great because now look at what's happening to Colorado. You've got a coach that's transformed the whole attitude of the program. You've got a better influx of players that he was able to bring into the program in this first year through transfers and what have you, right? And some recruitment. Okay. Now you're in a better financial deal than you were before. And this is another thing. You're in a more recognizable conference, which is going to make recruiting better. Oh, let's not forget, y'all. Coach Prime spent a lot of his time in Texas. He knows Texas well. So now being in that conference will allow you even easier to get into those Oklahomas and those Texas and that part of the country where you can pull those kids into the program in a more state. And these kids are watching. They don't want to be a part of conferences that are falling apart. I'll stop there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also when you're looking at, and this has been such a frustrating thing when we're talking about conference realignment, a lot of these conferences, they're looking at CU just based on this outdated old criteria of well, why would a conference want a 1-11 program? Surely we have people that can think better or more critically than what's put out there in the Twitter sphere. But if you're looking at where these numbers and views are coming from, I think DNVR, the podcast guys out here, they were just saying how the majority of their views for their Buff shows now come from the Dallas Fort Worth area. That's where they're getting the most traffic for their show
Right.
now. And I think, people forget, Colorado, we're a small state population wise. And with
Mm-hmm.
Coach Prime here, the majority of Buff's viewership for the immediate future, as long as he's here, it's going to be from Texas and Florida. And so it's important that we are playing schools that are in those areas and in
Yes.
time slots that are advantageous and easy for
Right.
them to
Because
watch.
the time slots in the West Coast doesn't work for people back east. So it's crazy. But let me make this point here. This is important too. You made this point. The recruitment is going to spike. Okay. Now you're going to get more viewership in areas where he needs to recruit now. Texas, these young people are going to be watching. And so if they're coming on at a more hospitable time in that time zone, it's only going to help his recruitment. It's only going to improve the TV revenue that you're getting. It's a great deal that they've now going to sign. So I think that it seems like everything is falling in the stars for Colorado right now. Okay. Everything's aligning up perfectly for really good things to happen in the future. So, and of course they're saying that this is the big talk right now. They're saying, well, they can't stay at 13 teams in the Big 12. So there's going to be some more shakeup.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And let me make this other important point. Everybody, please hear me out. TCU was in the national championship, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yes, you were right.
TCU originally arrived from, I think, the Mountain West Conference, one of those small conferences where it was a small little conference, and they went to the Big 12. People said the same thing. How are they going to compete? And look at what they've done. It takes a little time and development, but the fact TCU has a bigger brand, is a more relevant program today because of being in the Big 12 than they would have been if they still were playing in the I believe it was the Mountain West. I hope somebody in the chat room, or maybe I can look this up right now on my other computer here. I think they're more relevant because of the move than what they were where they came from. And they were never playing in any national championships where they were before they got to the Big 12. So that means what? Sky's the limit for Colorado.
Yeah. It is truly remarkable about the potential that we have now, joining this conference and being within this conference. Again, I just came from Jason Watkins' show where we were talking about all of this and why it seems like so many of the Big 12 fans are so excited to see Colorado back. But I think that they're also excited that right now the whole conference is a bunch of really quality programs that have kind of been behind the shadows of Texas or OU, or you have new schools that have come up from the G5 recently, such as BYU or Cincinnati, for example. These are programs that always felt like they belong at the table. They believe they're better than what the media has given them credit for. And now the conference is in a really interesting position because they have the opportunity. Everybody kind of has the opportunity to go out without being behind one of these flagship programs such as USC, UCLA, Texas OU, and really prove themselves. So I'm excited. Now, regarding this TCU comment, yes, I think they're in the Big East for like a year, right?
No, let me make a correction here. I just looked it up. Check this out. The Froghorns, without a conference, called home after 72 years, joined the Western Athletic Conference, which we call the WAC Conference, where they were playing teams like SMU and TCU, real small teams like Rice. So at one point in time, they didn't have a home. I think they were like an independent. They didn't have a home, but they wanted a home, and it was the Western Athletic Conference. They left the Western Athletic Conference to the Big 12, where people probably thought, oh, they could never win, and look at where they are today.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you can make an argument that Colorado is in a way better shape that TCU was before they even got into the Big 12. And now here you got Colorado in the Big 12 now.
Yes, yes. And speaking of recruitment, I think that one thing that has been a disadvantage for Coach Prime in this program right now has been being a part of the Pac-12. I'm sure a lot of other coaches, a speaking point to them is you have no idea who you're going to be playing football against here in the near future. If you stick in that conference, it could break up, and it's disappointing. I've been a big fan of what ASU's been doing with Kenny Dillingham, and their recruitment of Dylan Rashada or Jalen Rashada. And like big fan of what he's building over there. You have to imagine that if ASU isn't able to get an invite for the Big 12, which I don't think I'm expecting right now, you have to wonder what their future is as a football program, and it kind of stunts some of the positive steps that they've been taking. But overall, this is only going to help CU with having this stability in recruiting and certainty at the Big 12 level now.
I think I'll just say this just for football's sake. I think what's going to ultimately happen. Remember some years ago, they talked about creating power conferences. You can make an argument that the SEC is a power conference because there's been rumor about Texas. Well, Texas going. Well, I guess Texas is going to go there. Texas A&M. I think what will happen with the Pac-12 in particular, I think you're going to have the conference that I just mentioned. You're going to have the Mountain West, the WAC conference. I think they're going to all merge into these huge conferences. There's going to be some merger because whenever there's money on the table, when money's involved, nobody wants to lose opportunity. So I think something like that may happen. So we'll see what happens in the future of college football.
Yeah, I know this might be a little bit of a tangent, but I was just pitched this idea on Jason Watkins' show this afternoon by one of the K-State reporters there that I was on the show with, and he brought up this idea that it might not be so far-fetched that you might see the Big 12 kind of offer up naming rights to rename the conference, and doing that to entice Oregon to become a member of the conference with a deal with Nike, maybe calling it the Nike Athletic Conference or something like that.
Oh, wow. Totally that might be kind of, that may be. Well, let's just say this.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. But check this. I look into this. I think Oregon is too big and too popular and too well known of a program to want it to stay in a conference that's falling apart.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the Big 10 jumps in the bidding to try to get them to come over to the Big 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, or the Big 12, as you just mentioned. I just don't see them wanting to stay in that conference. They got too much to lose to want to stay there.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be interesting to see how the cookie crumbles as a metaphor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unprecedented times. I think that, if Oregon does get that Big 10 invite, you got to take it. I think right now it just seems like they might not get the votes in the conference to actually get invited. So hopefully for the Big 12's advantage, they can come up with some interesting ideas to entice Nike.
Right.
Yeah, like this whole pitch. I think it makes sense if you've seen the Air movie or, you're familiar with the history of the Jordan brand and all of that.
Most definitely.
Having Michael take a shot on a smaller conference or on a smaller shoe deal in theory, but give him more agency, give him more notoriety, take an entrepreneurial approach with this shoe brand and see where it goes. Now it's all incredibly successful. Maybe you kind of repurpose that sort of strategy and you pitch to Oregon because they cannot stay pat.
No, they can't. But we'll see what happens. But let me mention another thing. I don't think. Do you realize that Colorado, they got out of Pac-12 without having to pay any exit fees?
Yes.
I mean, let me hit my crowd noise. I mean, that's another thing that keeps these teams stuck sometimes. Like, can we take the hit with the exit fees? So that's why everything's aligned in the stars for Colorado for some reason. But, anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of bring it down here a little bit. Let's get back to this year. I would love to
Hmm.
hear your expectations right now for the Buffs. If you have some sort of expectation or prediction, whether that's with the team or with certain players, you know, let's hear it.
Well, I believe that they can win. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be unrealistic because we know that this is going to be the first year they'll be playing together and you've got to still gel as a team. It's one thing to gel and play together in practice, but it's another thing in the games.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take more of a more of a view that I think they can win. But if they have some hard times along the way, I'm not jumping off the bandwagon because I know this is how football works. Now, what I think people are underestimating in the country offensively, I know they got some running backs on this team, okay? But what I think is more intriguing is their plethora of wide receivers.
Yes.
And they have wide receivers that have game experience. Dawson has game experience. That the young man that I think is really going to stand out is Jimmy Horn Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I think their receiving core is going to really elevate Shador Sanders' game because you can make the argument he's got a better cast of receivers to throw to, which is going to give him so many options. So the question is, I think what people are going to underestimate them is that they're going to like go out there and say, okay, there ain't no big names out here. We can play some soft coverages. I think that as the season goes on, people are going to realize, oh shit, who do we cover? If we cover this guy, this is because each one of those receivers are hungry. They are hungry. They can get down the field and they can make plays. I think that's the area that people are sleeping on this football team, the receiving core. And the fact that we got to realize this, Shador Sanders has a strong arm. He's accurate and he can do something. What is that? He can throw the ball in the pocket. He's not just this guy scrambling around, making acrobatic plays. He can take the play with his arm. Another thing, as I go on a tantrum here, do not sleep on the fact that he's been getting tutored by Tom Brady,
Yes.
who has on record been very oppressed. He's been very oppressed by, not oppressed, when I'm saying the wrong word. He's very excited about the young man. And he's been doing this since the time he was at Prime Academy. He is ready for this moment. He is confident. I think the receiving core may be the strength of this team. And the reason why it's good because in the Pac-12, which is a passing lead, let's be honest about it, it's a passing lead. They got great backs in that lead too. But the Big 12 is one of those leads where they spread you out with multiple wide receivers and sets, right? So I think they're ready for that. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, regarding the offense, I would say that our strength is this wide receiver group as well. Again, we don't have a ton of guys that, I don't know, like they're not stars yet, but they have been productive at where they've played, and they all kind of have a different skill set. You know, Jimmy Horn, we can put him in the slot. We got Xavier Weaver that can, be that
Xavier Weaver.
Yeah,
He's dynamic.
Mm-hmm. We have again. Travis brought Javon Antonio up, who I'm cannot wait to see him coming up from the FCS level. A big 6'4" guy with some speed, physical hands. Tavares Dawson, guy coming over here from Auburn, a shifty guy.
Dawson, I've had chance to look at these guys on video, and these guys can make plays. So now you take this collective of guys that can make plays and you put them on a field and you design the right type of plays that emphasize their strength, and you've got a quarterback. See, this is the key. A receiver is only as good as its quarterback, and a quarterback is only as good as their receivers. Mm-hmm. So now you have a match made in heaven with Shador and these young men. Okay? So that's where I feel confident. Now, they've got some running backs that we can't sleep on. Smoke. The young man that they got from Wisconsin, his name always escapes me. Was it Wisconsin that they got him? No. The young man that came over from Houston. Yes, I'm sorry. But Casco scares me. When you look at his film, his ability to go in, he can run inside the tackles, outside the tackles. Then they got the young man who I think is going to give him a power thump. The young man that they got from Jackson State that played with Prime. Wilkinson can give you inside punch. And you know how the game is today. You use your running backs interchangeable based on the situations. So they've got that. The area that I'm concerned about, and I've heard people say this, would be inside the trenches, where the game really is won. What is the confidence that we have with their defensive line and the offensive line in the trenches? That's the area that I'm very concerned about.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I would be more concerned about the lines this year if we were playing in the Big 12. I think if there is a conference to be in where you're still kind of trying to develop that line talent and still kind of get away with it, to a level, it's the Pac-12. I think aside from with USC and with Oregon, they're kind of bringing in some of those big body types that you'll see on the eastern side of the country in those conferences. But I think I would be a little bit more hesitant with those lines if we were playing different competition. But I still think it's going to be good enough to where, this line last year, granted the offense was a mess. There's different factors that were going on. Our running backs were still averaging over 4 yards a carry, with pretty decent. And I would say that, we have more talented linemen here now, at least athletically. They're more gifted, and size-wise, I think our collective weight is even, about 10 more pounds. For if you're looking at like the average weight of each offensive lineman, it's like 10 more pounds, going into this year, which is substantial. So I think that there are a lot of factors at play that are working in favor for the Buffs. I don't think that they have a line right now to compete for the conference title this year. But I do think that you can maybe surprise a couple teams this year. But even though they're playing 5-10-digit win teams this past year, they're also playing 5 teams that won like 5 games or less last year, 3 games or less.
This is the equalizer for the team this year, for the Buffs. Just like in the NFL, if you notice, most of the teams that have success, it always starts at the cornerback level. Of course, inside the trenches with your offensive line, but it always starts at who is your QB. And if you don't have, and you know this better than me, would you say that Shedeur Sanders is a big upgrade to what you had at quarterback a year ago when you went 1-11?
Oh man. We haven't had anybody with NFL talent like that in a very long time.
So what does that say to you? That says to you that you're going to be in games, even if Colorado goes out there and win some and lose some. I bet you any kind of money the games that they lose will be games that they were still in to possibly win, because you got a quarterback now, which equalizes a lot of things, which is why I'm not quick to say that they can't win and surprise some people right now because they have a quarterback.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to bring this up, and I know it's kind of conspiracy talk here, but I brought this up in a video. I believe playing in that altitude and what it does to your body, your breathing, and how your DNA changes because you got to adapt to this environment, they will have a distinctive advantage because they're practicing in that environment every day. Now, I had someone say to me on a video that I did about this, oh, well, it didn't do anything for the team that went 1-11. And I said, because the team that went 1-11 was a bad team. If you're a bad player or a bad team and you play in that environment, it doesn't mean you automatically win because you're not a good player. You're still not executing. But if you take guys that can execute and now they're playing in that environment and teams come in there and you're getting adjusted to the environment, plus you got good players, you got dogs, that's going to give you that home field advantage. And check this out. Why do you think that the 1990s Colorado teams were so good? Because they had better players, better coaching, and they played in that environment. I rest my case.
Yes. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head again when it comes to this altitude stuff. It hasn't been a factor because, I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. Our team's been dog shit for 20 years. And you don't have to exert energy if you're coming in for a cakewalk into Boulder. I mean, we see it with the Broncos too. The last 7 years, there's been no mile-high magic because you got guys that are coming in here, teams that are coming in here, they can just stomp us, But now you're going to have a team that's coming in there hungry. Everybody has a chip on their shoulder on this team, a collective chip on their shoulder. And these teams that come in here, they're going to get hit in their mouth. And even though we've had our crowd, our crowd was fantastic last year during that 1-11 season. I mean, even at Cal, after Carl Durrell was fired, we got that first win. And the stadium was sold out, but we're gonna be in games, and for that reason, we're not gonna have the majority of our fans, leaving after halftime or anything like that.
Well, last time I checked, you guys have the hottest ticket in town. You can't. I mean, I want to go out there and see a game, but I may not be able to see a game. I may have to watch you guys when you come out my way when you play Stanford and Cal. If you come when you come to Cal, I'm gonna be there because I got friends and people that I know in Berkeley, in California. But that might be the only way I'm gonna be able to watch you because I wanted to come out there. I really want to come out there and go to a home game and have a chance to meet you and everything like that in person. But the way it looks, people buying them tickets.
It's crazy because the Nuggets, they're obviously the NBA champions, and like half season ticket prices for just to get in the door for the Nuggets are cheaper than some single games for right now of what's being sold.
Oh my god!
Market.
Oh my god!
To use. So
wow,
it's just insane. Like I just bought a 10-ticket package for the Nuggets, and that was $200, or it was $400. I guess, for that. And that is, that's just about as much as I spent for my ticket for the USC game.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a Warriors fan. I've been following them for years. I go back to the late 70s with them when I was a kid. And, you can hardly get in the door. Let me tell you something. When I was like, when was I, 12 or 11 years old? I remember going to a Warriors game in Oakland where there was hardly anybody in the arena. We're talking about back in the World Be Free days and Joe Barry Kerr days. I mean, it was that serious. It was that bad. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about when you could get the tickets at the gas station. But now everything's changed, of course,
Okay, this is a tangent, but I just got to ask you about this. Being in the Bay Area, what are your thoughts and feelings right now when it comes to because again, you do have the universities there, Stanford and Cal. Things aren't looking good back. You've had Oakland lose, like it's looking like they're going to lose their last professional sports team here with the A's. You have the Raiders move to Las Vegas. You have the Warriors move across the Bay. What has been kind of your thoughts and feelings on kind of why that whole thing has unraveled the way that it has?
I'm glad you asked me that because I lived in Oakland for about 10 years and I remember when the Raiders were coming back. The problem is that I hate to say this, but it's the truth. The politicians have created a bad economic situation for the structure, meaning taxpayers are getting ripped off. So when Oakland came back to Oakland, California, they were asking for concessions. Oh, we want you to put more seats in the A's stadium. Mm-hmm. They took a stadium that the A's had, which was a beautiful baseball park, and they destroyed it when they wanted all those seats. But then the people got left paying for something that the city couldn't afford. The politicians screwed us because the city is poor and they could not afford, really couldn't afford the Raiders. And what the deal was, it was a bad deal.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to realize in the Bay Area, real estate is sky high. And there's all these barriers and rules to construction. There's not enough room. And Oakland A's originally wanted to move to a place called Fremont, California, which is down the road from Oakland in a suburb, which I thought would have been a great plan. But the problem is they often want you to put up money. The problem is there is no money. You're asking a city, which is a blue collar city like Oakland, to flip a bill on a stadium for the Oakland A's, who have been a great team over the years, when they've already got burned by the Oakland Raiders, who we still owe money to. We got burned on that deal because why? The politicians, once again, cut the backroom deals, put us in a bad situation. Do you know in Oakland, California, they had to cut certain social services because of the deal that they cut with the Raiders when they came back to Oakland? You see?
Oh, wow.
So then what the public doesn't understand when you say, well, why is it they don't just build the Oakland A's a stadium? Because we ain't got no money. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is money, but it's all tied up into other things that has been mismanaged, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Out here with the current stadium that we have with the new Mile High Stadium, some of that was footed by the taxpayers. But yeah, now with where we're at, it's really a billionaire sport where you're expected to put up the money yourself to build those stadiums. And I guess the Bay Area has bad luck with.
When we talk about the Warriors, the Warriors were originally from San Francisco. Okay, they used to play at a place called Kezar Stadium. They had a football field there where the 49ers used to play. Then they had a basketball stadium there that I played in when I played high school basketball. You know, really old place now, right? They went back to San Francisco because San Francisco's got the money and they were able to get all that corporate money from Silicon Valley to put it up. Oakland as a city could not afford to put up that type of money because San Francisco's a tourist spot. They're generating money and people want to do business in San Francisco. Oakland is not considered a business district, right? Yeah. So Oakland as a city, as a town, doesn't generate the type of capital that San Francisco can generate. And there's more interest there. And they were able to put up the land. Now, the first proposal was to rebuild the existing stadium, which they did some furbishing of that stadium some years back. That's what Oakland was able to cough up, but they couldn't cough up everything's about money. And so that's why these teams are leaving. I'm not happy about it. But it's a big business now. And he or she that can afford it wins the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a billionaire sport now, or billionaire industry now.
I mean, the Raiders went to Las Vegas because Las Vegas was willing to put up money. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really like the way the NFL sort of assisted the Raiders in leaving Oakland. They were involved in that. I didn't really like the way that whole thing worked out. Yeah. And they went there because because remember, you couldn't have a professional team in Vegas because of the gambling aspect, right? And I thought they went to Vegas because they saw the money, they saw the bigger picture, they built them a nice stadium. I got to be honest, Oakland, as much as I love Oakland, the city of Oakland, and the people that are there, they could have never afforded to have built such a stadium like that.
Yeah.
It's just a sad commentary.
Yeah, it really is, man. And yeah, it's unfortunate. We see this happen a lot with pro sports, but also I feel like you're going to see some of this happen in college. And I'll kind of bring it back into this, but yeah, you see the Oklahoma City Thunder, that ownership group just purchased Seattle and moved to Oklahoma because they could get a stadium there. Or, you just see, passionate fan bases lose teams when they don't, when they might be doing everything in their power in terms of supporting the team and all that. It's unfortunate to see them to take as many right steps as they can and still lose it. And I think with this Pac-12 stuff, one of the universities that I think could be kind of out out of luck is Utah, because although they've built such a strong program, they've done everything right. It
Why
it's
don't
like,
they just go ahead? Go right
oh
ahead.
yeah, I was
It's
saying,
kind of a
like,
sad thing.
the Big 12, it's like the BYU is a larger national fan base, and they have a bigger draw, and I think that they're going to be preferred. Or there's Oregon and Washington and Arizona. It seems like all those schools are preferred over the back-to-back conference champions right now, and it's just unfortunate. You see programs that do things the right way, and you see CU honestly hasn't done anything the right way until the past 9 months. But it's
Right.
where you're at today, I guess, that
Right.
really it's the direction.
Actually, I really believe. I think personally, now that you have the addition of Colorado and what they're doing in the Big 12, I think whoever runs the Big 12, the commissioners, I think they should really consider the idea of bringing Utah into the Big 12. You know why? It will improve the branding
Yes,
and the legitimacy of the league. I think I'm gonna be on, I'm on a limb. I think that the Big 12 should go out on a limb and try to see if they can pull Oregon, maybe even maybe an Arizona State, see if they can pull some of these Pac-12 teams over, because it could only now they would have to figure out, well, how many teams can you really have in a conference without it being overboard?
right. We're
Well,
about
well,
to
well
find
yeah.
out.
I hate to say this, what I'm about to say. They would have to get rid of some undesirable teams in the Big 12. Now, who would be those undesirable teams? Would it be our state? Would they be one of those teams?
Man, I don't know. I kind of grouped them all together.
We shouldn't speculate. Let's just stop right now. Something's gonna happen, man. Something's gonna happen, Dave. Something's gonna blow. It has to.
Man,
Oregon, think about it. Or there's no way in hell Oregon's going to stay in the Pac-12 in the way it is.
no way.
What other prominent team? There's no way in hell that Utah can stay in the Pac-12 the way things are happening. And then you got Arizona State, you got Arizona. What other team? You got Oregon. Oregon State's not a bad football team. There's no way in the hell that I can see them just sitting back and saying, let's just let it all fall apart around us without us trying to make a move. I just don't see it.
Yeah. This is just the first domino, but I gotta say, it continues to add more legitimacy to what we're doing. I think that so often I just hear this argument of, well, Coach Prime, he's going to leave after a year anyways, yada yada yada. The Colorado brand doesn't mean anything without Coach Prime. That might be true, at least right now. But I think as time goes on, even if he does leave here at some point, the brand's going to be restored. But I think a lot of people who aren't following this closely miss the nuance of how good of a fit this school is for Coach Prime. Because again, you've heard me say this. We're okay with his brand being bigger than the universities. We're okay with giving him the keys to the car with how he wants to run the program, and we're not really going to step on his toes, I think, too much. What are your thoughts on his fit here long term?
I want people to stop saying that he's leaving. He has to prove his worth first, meaning he has to prove himself at the Power 5 level. Why would he be in order to leave and go somewhere? You have to have success. The reason why he's in Colorado in the first place is because he had 2 years of success at Jackson State. Okay. Withstanding the loss that he had in the HBC, state, their national championship. Unfortunately, they didn't win that. Mm-hmm. But he has to stay at Colorado and generate success. So he can't just run off anywhere. Okay. He's under contract, folks, and he's establishing something here. Now, I did a video that people slept on about the NFL and him leaving. And there was this rumor mill that they were saying, what if Jerry Jones, who he has affection for, was to call him on the phone and say, Deion, I want you to be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And when you look at that on face value, you say, I could see that. I could see him being the coach of the Dallas Cowboys someday, right? Because he has a relationship with Jerry, and Jerry doesn't mind. Jerry loves players that he's played for him, right? But then Deion a quote from Deion came out and said, "No, I'm not ready for the NFL. No, I don't want to coach the NFL because I'm too old school for the NFL." And I actually believe what Coach Prime said has validity to it. I don't think he wants that challenge yet because he's got work to do here at Colorado. So let's just stop with that right now. Let's just stop with that.
Yeah.
He's got to win. He's got to win, as he would say, we got to win right now, not tomorrow, but right now. So to get to the NFL, he's got to win and win consistently.
Yes.
And the NFL is a different beast. You're dealing with grown men who making $1 million salaries, which he said himself. They got kids, they got family. They're not going to listen to him the same way they're going. The young men are going to listen to him. They're coming out of high school. Not the same. You're talking about grown men who are making $1 million contracts. Not the same.
It's different, and I think one underrated fact here is that when you live here, it becomes very hard to want to move anywhere else. Like you get used to the dry air out here, so it's not humid. Again, I've talked
It's very
about,
beautiful.
Yeah,
I had an uncle who used to live in Colorado, so I know it's very beautiful out there.
being out in the Bay Area, you experience a lot of that great weather as well. There's not a lot of bugs around here compared to the South as it is. Like it's. I haven't seen a June bug. I haven't seen one cockroach since I'm here, and that's just different than Texas, man. Or it's different than Florida.
You got all kind of species of creatures out there in Texas.
Yeah, there are things here that once you're here, it just becomes really hard to move, especially if you are from the South. You enjoy hunting and fishing. This is a great place to be outdoors for most of the year. The winters aren't nearly as intense as they are in the Midwest or out in the Northeast. They're much more mild. Snow melts very quickly here. And again, really the only things that you have, if you're from Coach Prime, you got to put up with the fact that, you do have some snow here. And then, we're still trying to get there, but, just lack of seasoning on food. But we can change that, but and we're learning and growing because of him. But once you're here, if money isn't an issue for you, if the cost of living, which still the Denver Boulder area is an expensive place. It's not the Bay Area. It's not LA. It's not New York. It's going to be hard to want to move back down dealing with the 110-degree heat in Texas like my mother has been every day this summer.
Oh my God. Yeah. So now in a nutshell, I love everything that you said. I just don't see him leaving right away. I think we need to really just everyone needs to just take a collective breath, easy breath in and out, and just let's focus on the upcoming season and seasons to come and see how everything unfolds.
Yes.
And I got to be honest here. I don't agree with people saying that if Coach Prime leaves, Colorado will be nothing. He's creating a blueprint. So it's a blueprint that can be followed by anyone. No one has his personality. But what I'm saying is, you see this all the time in college football. A big name comes in, they rebuild a program, and then the program tries to continue the tradition based off what the person left them. I just think the bottom line is, if Colorado gets back to what they were doing, winning, it's going to still create interest in the players. You can look at teams in the Pac-12 like USC, who went through a suspension at one point in time, or Oregon that's gone through coaches, right? And when they got a new coach, they still got the blueprint in place. They just have to readjust, and then they start winning again. USC is winning again. They have a different coach, but they've reinstated the blueprint again. Yes. So don't assume that you won't have the energy of a Coach Prime, but he is building something that can continue to be going forward with the next person that comes in the future.
Yes.
If that was to happen.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, we're in good hands. There'll probably be just somebody here on the coaching staff that just moves into that role. So you're going to be part of that Coach Prime coaching tree.
And at the end of the day, winning cures everything. If the program is winning, they'll still get recruits, whether Prime is there or not, if you're winning, because that's what kids are looking at, wins and losses and
Absolutely.
bowl games and how many guys you got going to the NFL too. So,
Yes, absolutely. Well, Prime Sports Media, thank you so much for taking the time to
yeah,
chat with me.
thank
I
you.
know we went over time like I usually
I'm sorry.
do. No. I just lost track of time. So thank you for being flexible. Definitely can't wait to have you on the show again. Before we wrap things up, please tell everybody watching what you're doing, anything coming up, how to get in touch with you, follow you, all that.
Well, Prime Sports Media is the name of the channel. I normally drop videos 1 to 2 times a week. I've been dropping videos a lot, mainly on Saturdays. I'm so busy on YouTube. I got other things that I do on YouTube, but I really appreciate your audience here today. Everyone is fantastic in the chat room. And my focus of my channel is pretty much talking about Coach Prime, the players, what's happening at Colorado. And what I do is I try to give you sort of an analysis. The way I've been talking today is kind of how I do my channel. I give you clips and I give you video clips of players and I give an analysis. I try to give a logical analysis to what's going on. I really don't get into clickbait. You're not going to hear me go live and say, I've got the only video footage. Stop it. We're all using video footage that comes from the main source at Colorado, and you know who that is, okay? The players who have channels. So I try to get into the analysis of things and show you beautiful clips of players and inspirational type stuff. That's what I do on my channel. Check me out. I have a new video today where I titled it, Deion Sanders didn't get Charles Lester, but we got Shador and Travis. You're going to love that video from the perspective that I bring it, because I'm going to say it again. We didn't get Charles Lester, but we got Kamani McLean. We got a Travis Hunter. We have fantastic players on this football team. So one man that we didn't get does not break a football team. One man does not make a football team wins games collectively. You need stars, yes, but you need the collective of everyone working towards one goal. And we've got players like that. So the future is great. I think people need to hear more about that. I'm very interested about this Brandon Miller, who I had a chance to look at video of. I think he's a sleeper.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember a guy named John Lynch who played at Denver?
Oh, yeah.
He played at Stanford, white guy that everyone didn't know he would turn into a Hall of Fame safety. I'm not saying that the kid's a Hall of Fame safety for the NFL. I'm saying that whenever you see a prospect who kind of goes under the radar, but you're looking at the video, and video don't lie, and production don't lie, and you look at his numbers and you say, damn, this kid can hit, he can move. Now you get him in the right system with the right coaching, he can be blossomed into something. I think that kid who's coming in is excellent. And another kid I looked at, what's that kid? What is his name? Is it Luther? I was looking at a video today on Twitter. There's another young man that they have there that they just recruited for 2024. He's a receiver. What's that young man's name? Oh my God, I hate to have there's a kid that I watched on Twitter, and Coach Prime recruited him already. He's already signed. He's a receiver.
Carl Lewis?
But is it Butler something? I think it's Butler.
Oh, Aaron Butler. Yeah.
Now, is he a 2024 recruit?
Yes.
I watched. Thank you for helping me with my senior moment here. I just watched some of his stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
That kid is another sleeper. That kid, I'm telling you, folks, the future is bright for this program. Thank you for having me on, Dave. I appreciate you. And I'll be shouting you out on my channel. Definitely be giving you a special shout out very soon on my next video.
Oh, man, you're too kind. Man, this means a lot to me. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to Prime Sports Media.
I appreciate that, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, and dude, I remember when you first got on here, I was like, man, you need to have Subscribers I do. Look at you, man. Look, look at
Nah,
where.
I just have a let me tell you something. Well, I'm not telling you something that you don't already know. I would implore you and everyone who has these channels, get into a rhythm of, on certain days, dropping your YouTube shorts consistently, because the YouTube shorts will keep your channel in the algorithms when you don't have a full video up. And also it will bring you some new subs. So what I pretty much do on my channel is every weekend I load maybe 2 shorts Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and I load about 2 on Monday. I stay consistent to that. And that has brought me a lot of new subs, and it keeps your channel cranked through the algorithms. Because if you're getting a lot of views on a video, it's going to keep pushing the other stuff. So if for example, anytime you get a video that goes nice and viral for you or gets a lot of views, you want to drop another video very soon after that video to continue the momentum of that video. Keep it going. Okay. Another thing that I want you to do, Dave, do you have a I know people don't like Facebook. Some people like it. Dave, do you have a Facebook page to your channel?
No.
This is what I want you to do. It worked for me. I want you to create a Facebook page, and you say, well, how do I build up my audience there? Well, of course you want to put that Facebook page on this channel, but what you want to do is you want to drop reels. So take your YouTube shorts and repurpose them on TikTok, repurpose them on Facebook. You drop the YouTube short as a reel on Facebook, especially when you're doing this content about Colorado and Sanders. You can't believe how many people are following this stuff. You start dropping that content, you're going to start building an audience on Facebook, on your Facebook. I got about 9,004, almost 9,500 people following me on the Facebook page. I built it by dropping reels, and then I drop my YouTube videos. I drop pictures, I drop pictures, articles about Prime and the team. I drop videos that you see on Twitter. For some reason, I can't build my Twitter page. Twitter is just not built for building I don't know. It's weird. But I built the Facebook page basically off of dropping the reels, and people subscribe to the Facebook page. And then they're watching all the other content that I put on there, the clips, the pictures. And now I have an audience over there, and there's a small percentage of that audience that will follow you into your YouTube channel. Now, there's some people, the reason why I'm talking like this, because I have a YouTube channel where I talk about YouTube tips and stuff like that. What people do is that people who like Facebook are only going to watch content on Facebook. They're not going to come to YouTube. So that's why I implore you to start creating a page to drop your content over there. So now people who just want to be on your Facebook can watch your content on Facebook, or at least they'll click into the video that will take them to YouTube. And I was able to build up that audience in a short time. Same thing with TikTok. All I did was drop TikTok videos. TikTok shorts that came from my YouTube channel with me on it, with the Sanders on it, and people are gobbling it up. Now my TikTok channel is blowing up. And then I brand my TikTok videos. I put YouTube, I put Prime Media on there, so that when people on those other platforms see that, it might make them say, hey, you know what? Let me find this guy on YouTube. And then they might become a subscriber. That kind of creates people to traffic to your channel. You see? So what I would tell you, your videos are great. Keep putting the content out. Keep trying to put your stuff trying to spread your stuff out to other platforms where you become like a brand, where people start to recognize the name. You want it seared in their head. And I like the fact that you make your name very simple. Dave's Talk Buffs. That's very important for branding. So because people will never forget that. It stays in their mind. Yeah. So there's a way that you do this, and you just keep feeding the algorithm, which is really the audience, feeding them what they want, and staying focused to the content and what they want, and consistent with dropping the videos. Put those YouTube videos in there. Oh, another thing you need to do too, if you don't do enough of this, utilize your what do you call that? Your community tab. drop pictures, drop articles. This is what I found out listening to Liberto Blake. There's Liberto Blake, and there's many others like him, are one of the top guys on YouTube who give you YouTube tips, right? I found this out. Do you know when you drop stuff into your community tab, that goes into YouTube where other people can see it besides just your subscribers?
See, I didn't even know that.
And also cutting up some of your YouTube videos into shorts along with your long form, they're actually, because the short shelf is actually pushing your YouTube channel to people that are watching your shorts. It will come up in their feed. So this is why it's important to create shorts. Now, let me give you something that I use that you can use for your shorts. It's called, let me write this down. I want you, it's free, or you can, you can use it for free where you get a certain amount of banked hours, or you can pay for it and get more banked hours. It's called vidyo.ai. What I do, Dave, is I take a YouTube video or I take a clip that I put in my videos. I've simply uploaded to this system and it creates the short for me. It gives me different formats. It'll give me the letters on the screen, and it gives me different formats of how I want to present my short. It'll give you all these different formats that you can use. And you can even add extra stuff on the video because it gives you that opportunity to do that too. There's a free version of it. I want you to put that in your bar so it comes up, and save it to your channel. And then you can take content and make easy shorts out of it. So when you say, well, I don't have time to do shorts, they have these AI systems that will prepare the content into a short for you and put the letter in, and you can choose the fonts you want for lettering, the whole 9 yards. That's what I use to create my shorts.
Man, I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just bookmarked that. And I appreciate all the advice and the free consulting. Yeah. For sure. So
No. It really works. It really works, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll definitely get you on as the season approaches. Again, love talking with you. We're gonna have more to talk about as fall camp starts up here soon. But again, thank you everybody for checking out this video. Please hit that like, and as always, go.
Peace and thank you.
See ya.